There comes a quiet moment in life, usually sometime after 50, when something shifts. It's not dramatic, there's no announcement, but suddenly you start seeing your life differently. You notice how fast time moves now, how entire years seem to disappear, and you realize something that would have scared you when you were younger, but now feels strangely freeing. You don't have unlimited time anymore, and that realization doesn't bring regret, it brings clarity. Because clarity is one of the greatest gifts aging gives us, if we're brave enough to accept it. So today, I want to talk about 7 things that quietly drain your life after 50. Not because they're evil, not because you're wrong for doing them, but because they cost more than they give back. And more importantly, what's actually worth your time instead. 1. Competing with other people. Most of us were trained to compete long before we ever chose to. Grades, careers, promotions, money, status. Life was presented to us like a scoreboard, and somewhere along the way we forgot to ask who created the rules. But by the time you reach 50, something becomes painfully obvious. You're not even in the same race anymore. You look around and see people your age buying bigger houses, climbing higher titles, posting curated versions of success, and suddenly you feel behind. But here's the truth. Most people never say out loud. You don't actually want their life. You want peace. You want alignment. You want your days to feel meaningful, not impressive. Competing with others at this stage is like running full speed in the wrong direction and wondering why you're exhausted. So what's worth your time instead? Compete only with who you used to be. Measure your growth by how grounded you feel, by how honest your life feels, by how much less you pretend. If you're calmer, more self-aware, and more at peace than you were 5 years ago, you're winning in ways no trophy could ever reflect. 2. Tying your identity to your career. This one is hard because society reinforces it constantly. For decades, your job title wasn't just what you did, it was who you were. It defined your worth, your purpose, your value in conversation. And then one day, that chapter slows down or ends. Retirement approaches, a career shift happens, or you simply outgrow the role that once defined you. And suddenly someone asks, "So what do you do?" And you hesitate. That discomfort isn't weakness, it's a signal. Because when your entire identity is built on what you produce, losing that role can feel like losing yourself. But here's the deeper truth. Your career was a chapter, not the whole book. What's worth your time now is discovering who you are when no one is paying you. Curiosity, creativity, contribution for its own sake. The second half of life isn't about climbing higher ladders. It's about going deeper into yourself. 3. Forcing yourself to finish things that no longer serve you. We were taught that quitting equals failure. Finish what you start. Push through. Don't give up. So we force ourselves through books we don't enjoy, shows we stopped caring about, projects that lost meaning months ago, hobbies we think we should love but never truly did, and we call that discipline. But after 50, time reveals its real price. What's worth your time instead? Permission to stop. Redirect your energy toward experiences that engage you, challenge you, or genuinely bring joy. Your time is your most valuable resource now. Spend it on things that feel alive. 4. Doing things out of obligation. Instead of choice, ask yourself honestly, how much of your life is spent doing things you don't actually want to do? Not the unavoidable hardships of life, but the optional ones you accept out of guilt, politeness, or fear of disappointing others. Another gathering you didn't want to attend. Another committee you joined out of pressure. Another favor for someone who never shows up for you. There's a difference between kindness and people-pleasing. One comes from choice. The other comes from fear. What's worth your time now is intentional giving. Invest your energy where it's valued and reciprocated. When you give because you choose to, not because you feel trapped, you feel lighter, not resentful. 5. Needing to be right. Especially arguments that don't change anything. By midlife, you learn a hard truth: most people aren't searching for truth. They're searching to win. And once you step into that arena, peace is the first casualty. You don't need the last word. You don't need to correct everyone. You don't need to defend your existence in every conversation. What's worth your time instead? Peace, learning, growth, letting silence be your boundary. The moment you stop needing to be right, you reclaim something priceless: your energy. 6. Tolerating energy. The interactions that leave you feeling drained instead of seen. They're not necessarily bad people, they're just expensive. And after 50, you realize you can't afford them anymore. Every hour spent feeling depleted is an hour stolen from something that could have nourished you. What's worth your time instead? Reciprocal relationships, or even solitude if that's what restores you. You don't owe anyone your presence simply because they're used to having it. Protect your energy like the finite resource it is. 7. Expecting people to become someone they've never been. This is one of the hardest lessons of midlife. People don't change because you explain yourself better. They don't transform because you wait longer. They don't suddenly rise to expectations they've consistently shown they can't meet. Having standards isn't wrong. Expecting honesty, respect, and effort is healthy. But expecting someone to become a different person, that's where suffering begins. When someone repeatedly shows you who they are, believe them. What's worth your time now is acceptance without bitterness. You can't control others. You can only decide what you tolerate. When you stop hoping people will change, you regain clarity. And clarity leads to peace. Because peace doesn't come from changing others. It comes from finally seeing reality and choosing yourself. If this stage of life is about anything, it's about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your truth. Not by doing more, but by letting go of what no longer deserves you.